Swinger experience. How my husband's unusual request strengthened our marriage. When Ethan first brought it up, I honestly thought he was joking. We were sitting at the kitchen table late at night, the house quiet except for the low hum of the refrigerator. Our coffee had gone cold, and the day's stress still lingered between us. After 12 years of marriage, conversations usually flowed easily, but that night his voice carried a hesitation I wasn't used to hearing. "Claire," he said carefully, staring into his mug instead of at me, "can I ask you something without you getting upset?" That sentence alone made my stomach tighten. I nodded, unsure of what was coming. He took a deep breath. "What would you think about exploring something different together? Not because anything is wrong. Just because I want us to be stronger. More honest." I raised an eyebrow, half amused, half cautious. "Different how?" He hesitated again, then finally said it. "What if we learned about other couples who focus on communication and trust in unconventional ways? I'm not talking about anything reckless. I'm talking about understanding boundaries, jealousy, and ourselves." I didn't answer right away. My mind raced with assumptions, fears, and questions I didn't yet have words for. Ethan noticed my silence and quickly added, "This isn't a demand. If you say no, it ends here." That mattered more than he knew. For the first time in a long while, I really looked at my husband. Ethan wasn't chasing excitement or trying to escape our marriage. If anything, he looked vulnerable. Nervous. Like a man risking rejection because he trusted his partner enough to be honest. Our marriage hadn't been broken. But it had grown quiet in places. Routine had replaced curiosity. We loved each other deeply, but somewhere along the way, we stopped talking about our fears, our insecurities, and the parts of ourselves we kept hidden even from each other. So instead of shutting him down, I asked the question that surprised us both. "Why now?" Ethan leaned back in his chair. "Because I don't want us to wake up one day feeling like strangers. I want us to choose each other every day, not just assume we will." That conversation didn't end with a decision. It ended with something more important: honesty. Over the next few weeks, we talked more than we had in years. Not just about his request, but about us. About how I sometimes felt unseen. About how he sometimes felt pressured to be perfect. About the silent assumptions we'd built our marriage on. We read articles together. We listened to interviews from couples who emphasized respect, consent, and communication over labels. What stood out to me wasn't the idea itself, but the discipline behind it. The constant check-ins. The emotional transparency. The absolute requirement of mutual comfort. One night, after hours of conversation, I finally said, "I'm not agreeing to anything yet. But I'm willing to explore why this scares me instead of pretending it doesn't." Ethan smiled softly. That's all I wanted. We set rules before we ever set expectations. No secrets. No pressure. Either of us could stop the conversation at any time. And most importantly, our relationship came first. Always. What surprised me most was how much I learned about myself. I learned that my fear wasn't about losing Ethan, but about losing control. About not being enough. About comparing myself to imaginary standards I had never questioned before. Ethan, in turn, admitted that his request wasn't about wanting something else. It was about wanting to understand desire, trust, and commitment without pretending those topics didn't exist. Weeks turned into months of conversations, not actions. And in those months, something shifted. We started dating again. We laughed more. We touched more. Not out of habit, but intention. One evening, as we walked through a park near our home, Ethan stopped and took my hand. You know, he said, even if we never go beyond talking, this has already changed everything for me. For me too, I admitted. I feel closer to you than I have in years. That was the moment I realized something important. The strength of our marriage wasn't being tested by an unusual request. It was being revealed by how we handled it. Eventually, we decided to attend a discussion group focused on relationships and trust. There was nothing secretive or dramatic about it. Just couples sitting in a circle, talking about communication, boundaries, and respect. Listening to others speak openly made me realize how many marriages struggle silently because no one feels safe enough to talk. On the drive home that night, Ethan asked, "How do you feel?" I thought for a moment. I feel heard. And surprisingly calm. We never rushed. We never crossed lines we weren't ready for. And the truth is, the deeper we went into understanding each other, the less the original label mattered. What mattered was that we were choosing honesty over fear. One night, months later, we sat on the couch, our legs tangled together, the TV playing softly in the background. Ethan kissed my forehead and said, "Thank you for trusting me enough to listen." I smiled. "Thank you for trusting me enough to ask." Our marriage didn't strengthen because of an experience. It strengthened because of communication. Because of courage. Because two people decided that love wasn't about avoiding difficult conversations, but facing them together. If there's one thing this journey taught me, it's that every relationship grows in its own way. There is no universal path. What matters is respect, consent, and emotional safety. Sometimes, saying yes doesn't mean agreeing to an idea. Sometimes, it means saying yes to understanding your partner's heart. And that changed everything.